What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wars in the Stars, episode number 91. Today is going to be predominantly a Mandalorian season 3, episode 3 and 4 discussion, and also we'll discuss a little bit about the Bad Batch, what's going on there before we get into the season finale, which will be next week, a two-parter. We'll go to my co-host here, Stormy, first. We'll ask him how his day is going and say what's up to everybody.
Yeah, hey, it's pretty good so far. I'm still kind of recovering from work, so I was a little bit busy, but yeah, other than that, I'm doing good.
Good, man, good. Did you, by the way, you said you were gonna go see Shazam. Have you seen Shazam yet?
I didn't, but like I've been spoiled by like a decent amount of it. Like I know like a decent amount of what happens.
Uh, yeah, not doing too well in the box office.
Oh no, yeah, it did worse than Scream and Creed. Oof.
And it did worse than Morbius, which is
Oh yeah.
crazy. Uh, you know, like a very badly marketed film. Like, just, I mean, it's a comment. It's like, makes me a little bit worried about The Flash. I'm actually excited for The Flash, but like,
I think Flash will be fine because it seems like there's
right,
like way more hype generated around that film than like for Shazam too. Plus,
right,
like it'll be important to the future of the DCU, while Shazam is like kind of its own thing.
right. Yeah. And it's weird, like the narrative going around with that. Like, they're trying to make it a thing like Black Adam was like successful, so this wasn't successful. It's like trying to pit it The Rock against Zachary Levi.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then Zachary Levi's kind of been on a coping arc. He's
No,
like,
Zachary Levi's been going crazy on social media. I don't know what bro's doing.
I'm like, what do you do? Your movie's still out. Just let your movie play out, man. Just let it all play out. You're not gonna play the character anymore. This was your swan song. Just deal with it. I mean, the dude who plays the kid is like could play Shazam himself at
Yeah,
this
no, he's
point.
like
Like,
old enough now.
yeah, he could play Shazam himself. That would be kind of cool, I think. Um, all right, let's get right into it. Let's discuss the Mandalorian the past 2 weeks. Let's just go broad strokes here. What are your overall thoughts on the last couple of weeks of the Mandalorian?
Episode 3, which one was that? Was the
This was with Dr. Pershing and
yeah, the Coruscant one. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That one I thought it was medium. I didn't think it was bad. People are like blowing out kind of like the worst episode of the Mandalorian. I know it got really bad reviews too on like IMDb and stuff. I think it's in the top 4 lowest rated episodes. But like I didn't think that one was bad. And then this week's most recent episode, I really enjoyed. That one was pretty good.
Um, I would tend to agree. I just feel like I'm in this weird state. We're halfway through the show, so we're halfway through the season, I should say. Um, I don't know. Like, honestly, I have a weird relationship. I think this. I don't know if you agree, and I haven't seen a lot of discussion about this, but I really feel like this is the worst season of the show. I really feel like, and again, I'm not saying you need cameos or you need big action pieces for shows to be good. I just feel like it doesn't have the gravitas that the first season did.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first season's really special. The first 3 episodes, especially. I think it's just like for me at least, a reintroduction into why this universe is so great.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second season, I think, is just really good storytelling, even with cameos. I think it just adds to the story. But overall, I will say just this season, just the show is its strongest when it's Din and Grogu. And again, I think this season has done a better job with Grogu, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just worried because it feels like we've kind of shifted a lot of story towards Bo-Katan, and while Bo-Katan is very important.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I know, like you said, like how it's kind of like the central thing is Grogu and Din, and like they're focusing on Bo-Katan a lot. No, I actually really kind of like how they're focusing on Bo because at the moment Bo's like a more interesting character than Din. Like at this moment.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. I just think the way every single episode is ended on a shot of Bo-Katan. We got Bo-Katan with the Mythosaur like emblem now on her shoulder. We got her talking with the armor. We got her her arc has been very, very interesting. I've really liked it. I'm not saying it's been bad. I'm just worried that they're gonna go the way she's gonna be the leader of Mandalore, which is just something I don't want, because it feels like we've lost the plots of Din learning to become the ruler, like that.
Mhm.
And again, there's 4 episodes left in the season. There's a lot of stuff I feel like we have to do. We still haven't seen Gideon yet. We haven't been introduced to the villain of the season. Like, Gideon's still not around. Again, that's been a problem with the show. I think that's been the big problem. Um, and yeah, I think Bo-Katan's a great character. I think this is actually these last 4 episodes have been my favorite Bo-Katan story. It's just not her show.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. I'm in a weird spot. I wanna hear what you think. Do you think it's the worst? And again, the last 3 episodes could be great, and I could be wrong, but I don't feel like we've gotten, like I mean, we've got some, like, top 10 episodes, I would say, but, like, The Mines of Mandalore, I think is really good. I don't think besides that, I've really felt like, oh, top 10.
In my opinion, none of these have been top 10. Is like episodes one, two, no, one, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine of season 2 are in the top 10, and then like the maybe like not like episode 4 in season 2. Episode 4 was okay. That's an episode for episode 1 of season 2, and then like the finale in the beginning of Mando season 1 are like my top 10. But like most of season 2 like crowds up the top 10,
Right, right. No, absolutely.
and then like finale and pilot of the first season. But yeah, like I said, nothing has really been top 10 material for me too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And again, it's not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's just been like I we'll talk about it. I mean, I'm at like a 7.5, 7.75 for the season, I would say. I think that's fair. It's just
Mhm.
not bad. It's just not really pulling me in as much. But to get back, we'll go oh, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to comment real quick on what you said about a villain. To be fair, like how there's not central villain. To be fair, season 1 also didn't have a big looming villain like that either. So that's why I don't think, to me personally, it's that big of a problem. Because Gideon, he kind of like he wasn't really teased, but like he was like really only important to like the last 2 episodes.
Right, I agree with that. And I think that would be like just in general my only complaint about the show
Mhm.
is I think Gideon is such an interesting character. XISB, kind of like the Gestapo and the SS for the Nazis almost, like just secret. But what more so fascinates me about Gideon is his intelligence. It's not his brute force or his military tactics. It's like a thing with Thrawn. Like, I'm not interested in Thrawn's fighting abilities. I'm interested in his intelligence. I think that's always what made those characters interesting. So like that's what I like with Gideon.
That could
And
be a
just
reason
learning.
too why they're not using him. Maybe because they don't want to be too close to Thrawn.
Oh, right. That is true. That is very true. But also Gideon seems to be obviously that being the head ISB, heading up the destruction of Mandalore. He's obviously an integral part of this story.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what's going on with him. And obviously we got a tease with the Persian stuff, and we'll talk about that now because that was a big part of episode 3. Well, I think it was really well done. Um, it was kind of cool to see that story. I was on Choco and Element Seven's podcast last week, Died in the Force, talking a little bit about it. I really thought they were going to go the route of like Operation Paperclip, where they were going to make it like the New Republic was recruiting Imperial scientists to continue doing cloning.
Mhm.
But I will say, just overall, I thought like Persian story was really interesting. Learning a little bit more about like the New Republic being reluctant to use his science, even though he's doing it for good reasons.
Yep.
Uh, and it was really interesting to see. I don't remember the comms officer's name, um, but it was really interesting, and it brings up an important question: is Gideon still out there, and how much of a role is he playing? Because obviously, she is very much gun ho with the Imperial still. So, what did you think of the whole Persian sequence? What did you think of that?
When I thought it was the episode was really well directed. I love the way they shot Coruscant and everything. I was so happy to see Coruscant again, even though they reused like some shots from Revenge of the Sith. It was still very cool, like seeing the planet again. And like if this episode 3, it felt really like Andor to me, like heavily like just died.
Oh no, no, no. Okay. Yeah, he'll be right back. 1 second.
Oh, well, that's my bad. So
Uh,
I still like, hit something on my phone. My bad.
it's all good. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah.
It's all
What
good.
was the other thing? Oh yeah, it was like it was a very dialogue heavy episode. Like I said, felt very endearing, but like I kind of liked that about this episode, and I just thought like Pershing's just not the most interesting character to follow. That was like my kind of only complaint, and like I forgot the girl's name, but she was like just way more of an interesting character than him.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Persian's only in like a few episodes, and he's only in like a couple minutes of each episode. But it just I think it's just what was more interesting, obviously, was the world building aspect. It's something that the show is it's focused on two characters for the most part, Mando and Grogu. But what it does so well, and I think season two attributes to that, is it brought in the galaxy, right? We got Boba Fett, we got Ahsoka, we got Luke Skywalker. So we got these connections to these bigger characters, and it makes the galaxy just larger. They've done John and Dave, I think, have done a really good job of um, using two characters and one character in particular who was just a bounty hunter, and making his story very integral to the whole future of the galaxy, and where we're going in 7, 8, and 9. Um, yeah, so I think that's really big. And then also, I just for this episode, like seeing Coruscant again was huge. I think I mean, we see it, don't we see it in I want to say we see it in the Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah, I think they're doing like an ending celebration in Coruscant.
Probably, but this is the latest in the timeline. I think we've seen it in live action. Like the latest, it's the first time we've seen it
Yeah.
post Return of the Jedi, which was really cool to me. Um, really interesting to see like what really fascinated me was I just read something, and it was a really good point that the elites are still the elites of the planet. Like the elites were members of the Republic, members of the Empire, and now members of like the New Republic, and nothing has changed. The New Republic, it again established the fact that the New Republic tried to be so polar opposite of the Empire. Again, like being a very reactionary government that they kind of lost their way, and that's why the First Order came up. So
Mhm.
I'm really interested to see more of that. I'm sure we'll get that teased out through like Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and maybe Book of Boba. But yeah, I totally agree with you about the Persian stuff. I want to ask, I've kind of alluded to it. What do you think this means for Gideon? Is Gideon out there? Is Gideon arrested? Where is Moff Gideon right now?
I'm not actually sure. I've heard a lot of theories that Gideon's escaped, but like I don't know how he would have escaped. It seems like like you said, the Empire has infiltrated the New Republic, with the remnants of the Empire has infiltrated the New Republic. So I wonder if that means like if Gideon could be kind of like an inside man, so like he has connections to like maybe like a different part of this empire. I feel like that would be kind of like an interesting storyline to go to.
Uh, so are you saying like that there's just people out there that are just doing his bidding? Do you think he has no real connection at this point? Do you think he's still feeding information somehow, or do you think he's just in a cell?
I think it could kind of be like a Kingpin situation, kind of like what they did in Daredevil season 2, while like he's in prison, but like he's still in control. I feel like that's the way they can go.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, oh, I can't remember her name, the actress's name. I know it. Oh, I'm not gonna remember her name, but the comms officer,
Mhm.
she says there are still a lot. She says something along the line there are still a lot of people out there willing to help, and that it's meant to think that the audience that she's referring to the New Republic. Um, but she's really referring to the fact that there are a lot of moles within the New Republic.
Mhm.
Um, and I really think, like you were saying, I agree with Gideon being the kingpin of like the prison. And there's just people there that still believe in the cause, and he's just feeding enough information to these people, and they're doing his bidding still.
Mhm.
And I guess this is a good segue, but I want to first ask, what do you think what he wanted done with Persian? Because now he has his mind wiped, essentially. So there's two paths to me, and I could see both. Either A, he wanted Persian essentially eliminated with no information about what happened, because if Persian revealed too much, he could be a liability to what Gideon's doing, right? He could
Mhm.
get Gideon killed. B, he needs his mind wiped so he can get him back to still do the cloning stuff with Grogu. So what do
Mhm.
you think? What do you think Gideon wants with Persian still, if anything? What do you think his plan with Persian is?
Well, one, I thought Pershing was dead. I thought bro was dead. He like looks like he was like about like he looked like his brain was just getting straight up fried. But yeah, if he's
Right.
not dead, like I said, I think you may like I kind of agree with that. Where like how he's just like a liability to Gideon, especially like how like Switch he kind of turned to the New Republic. If like it's just a liability to Gideon, and obviously he didn't need his research that much because like he wiped his memory.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Also, the New Republic, very stupid. Why would you not supervise that? Why? I don't understand when people do that stuff. Like they just like leave the room and just leave somebody there. Oh,
Yeah. So
there's a
what's her
lever right there.
excuse gonna be? Like, oh man, my oh I slipped and it went up like 10,000 volts. Oh my bad, guys.
How are you gonna explain that? You're just gonna be like, yeah, it just the machine malfunctioned. The
I
machine
was just
malfunction. The machine malfunctioned. He's dead. That
yeah.
that just happens, man. I just that scene's so funny to me because I love the music. It's like very like it's just like oddly terrifying because it's like the Moncala is just like he's like, "Oh, I do it all the time. It's just therapy." And it's really just like a mind flare, just like dumbed down.
Mhm.
And like first it's like, "Oh my god, it's a mind flare." And it's like really funny because like we're like, "Oh, okay, he's not actually gonna get his brain like friggin' sizzled off." And then he gets his brain like literally like essentially he's nothing. He has no like information, no knowledge at all. He's kind of lost all that. But yeah, a pretty tragic story, I think, for Gideon or for Persian, I should say.
Yeah.
Uh, who do you think sent the Thai bombers?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know actually. That's really I never thought about that. I kind of just saw him. I was like, oh, Empire's here. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it could. I could allude to something in the future, but my guess is either it's probably just like some random Imperial unit, probably. Maybe the Empire's like maybe still surveying Mandalore. Now, like that could be like a plot that they could like integrate into so that the Empire still or the remnants of the Empire is still surveying Mandalore,
I
and that
would
like
still. Yeah. Oh, go
you can
ahead,
go ahead.
finish.
You can go.
Um, I would say that because Mandalore and it seems like its surrounding moons and stuff are pretty absent of Mandalorians. I would say it's probably a safe bet that there are Imperial remnants there. And I would also, this is why I think Gideon is out of prison at this point or has already escaped,
Mhm.
which again would be weird not to show. Um, but I think it kind of makes the most sense. Um, and Gideon would want to eliminate Bo Katan, would want to eliminate her castle because she's a massive part of the Mandalorians, and is the last of like the forgotten times for them since the purge. So like, I feel like it would be very essential for Gideon to eliminate her at all cost, and to have that large of a force, it would make sense. It would be Gideon still with his ties to Mandalore. It would make sense he would have Imperial remnants in the Mandalorian system. That just
Mhm.
makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already known that there's no people on Mandalore, and I would assume there's nobody near Mandalore that are Mandalorians. So I think it'd be a pretty safe bet that the Empire, and then through that, the Empire can feed the propaganda that the Mandalore's been destroyed. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty safe bet. Gideon's on one of the moons, I think, of Mandalore.
Yeah, I like that. That's actually a really good theory. I like that.
Yeah. There is another theory that it's Thrawn, which I'm like, why? It just wouldn't be Thrawn
I
because
don't want
Thrawn.
anything Thrawn till Ahsoka. And I'm like I said, I'm like top 5 Thrawn supporters of all time. I don't want Thrawn till Ahsoka. Because
Yeah,
it's
right.
just gonna have they have to do way too much explaining, and then they're gonna have to spend time in a different show explaining what happened. Just explain what happened to him in Ahsoka, and after that, you have free reign to use them wherever you want to. Then, like that's it. Because I just want an explanation. I want to be like, oh my gosh, guys, look, it's Thrawn. He's here. Okay, where was bro at? Just wait till Ahsoka. We'll tell you. And it's like, no, bro, just tell me in Ahsoka first, and then like just be patient.
Right, right. It would also be very weird that Thrawn would attack Mandalore out of like all places. Like
He has
has
no reason to. There's zero reason for Thrawn to attack Mandalore.
no. Uh, yeah, I totally agree with that. Let's move in. Yeah, we could move into episode 4 now. Uh, so Bo-Katan is now a member of the Watch. Um, that was a very funny scene with her being like, "What the hell? I'm in a cult again." Um, yeah. So Bo-Katan is part of the Watch. I really enjoyed this episode. It was really cool to see Mandalorian's training. I thought that sequence was really cool. It was cool to see Grogu adopted the ways of the Mandalorians, and we're kind of seeing that blend now between his Jedi force powers and his Mandalorian culture. So I want to ask you, did you like? Because this was like the first time in live action we've seen like, besides like chapter 3, the sin, and some other moments. This was another. This was like a full episode basically with live action Mandalorians. What did you think of this episode and seeing like how the daily practices and the daily lives of this sect of Mandalorians? What did you think of that aspect?
I thought it was cool and fun. The only like kind of complaint I have is like these guys like obviously are taking safety precautions when there's like because obviously like we know like that raptor thing has been taking kids for like a while now. It's like you're not taking safety precautions for that. And it's like, they don't know what's in the water. So that's the only thing. It's like, guys, take like a little bit of safety precautions. They're kind of just like here strolling, training, like, oh, one of our kids in capture game, they get captured last week. What? And it's like, it seems like that happens like, more than once because this has happened before. It's like, and you're still doing the same thing. You didn't learn your lesson. But other than that, it was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool. Yeah, it's really odd that they like chose a planet with just the giant monsters that just attack all the time, like a giant crocodile, a raptor. Like, what else is that planet got? Like, it's literally has everything. Um, yeah. I totally agree with that. I think it's really interesting. To just see Mandalorians and stuff like that and see their way of life and stuff. Not too much of substance, I would say, happened with that. Obviously, Paz Vizsla's son um, got captured. He got saved. Um,
Bro should not have been alive. He was like inside that thing's mouth. I don't know how he didn't get digested already or something, or like suffocating there. How was bro alive?
well, it was very odd because they're like nobody like seemed to have like lost hope that the kid was like already dead. Like,
Yeah.
everyone, like, just assumed he was alive. I'm like, why would that be the first thing that you assumed? I would assume he was a goner at that point.
Yeah, and they waited like
Um,
a whole day. Like it's not like they got him like 2 hours later. A whole like was he in that thing's mouth for a whole day?
I guess so, like a whole sleep. That thing just held it in its mouth and didn't feed its kids. So just like, I was like, that's weird. That's wild. But yeah, he got saved. Um, good for Paz Vizsla. We still don't like you, but it's actually nicer this episode. He was nice to Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I thought him and Bo-Katan were gonna have beef. I was so excited from that beef and like Bo whoop his ass, but then they're just like, "Thank you, Bo-Katan." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Um, yeah, that would have been interesting because he is a Vizsla, which again I'm still very curious about. Is he Pre-Vizsla's son? I don't
Well,
think
it said
that's
that
the
he's a
case.
descendant of Clan Vizsla, so like it could have been like that he could have like adopted the name from like he's like like it's like that's his great grandfather 2 times removed, and he just adopted the name Vizsla.
Right, he could have just adopted the name. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Now I think what the biggest thing from this episode was obviously Grogu's flashback sequence, which I thought was really well done. Echoed obviously Mando's flashback sequences from Mando season 1 when he had the armor made. When he was having his armor made in season 1, and we saw him getting captured as a child, his traumatic childhood event. And then we saw Grogu's traumatic childhood event, which is not finished yet. We still don't know what happened post what we saw. But what did you think of that whole sequence?
Well, one, them Jedi's, well, I don't know if those were like Padawans or something. Those guys got taken out by like 3 blasts, and they went like, oh. I was like, okay, guys, come on now. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I was like a little bit shocked that it wasn't Anakin because that's what kind of like teased. I wasn't mad like, oh man, I didn't get my cameo of the week, but like I was like, oh man, y'all teased it, y'all know what you were doing. But yeah, so that was cool. And then when they opened the door and everything. Also, he was inside that elevator when he went up to the elevator. There was just a dead Jedi just chilling in there with him. That was like that. He rode the elevator with a dead Jedi, and I was like, damn, it was kind of dark. And he was like, Grogu's like, was he like 30 years old at this time? I think.
Yeah, he's like 25, 30, something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
25-year-old baby with like dead Jedi in the elevator. Yeah, and then they opened the door. And I screamed. I was like, "Oh, black guy, Mace Windu!" And I was like panned up. I was like, "Oh, my best!" It was so funny.
I was like, yeah, I said the same thing too. I'm like, okay, so the first thing when I see the door being cut, I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be Anakin. It's gonna be Anakin. I'm gonna go nuts. It's gonna be Anakin. And then I saw clones. I'm like, oh. And then I was like, it was actually a really good Order 66 sequence, like one of the better ones we've gotten. I really think because usually it's like the same thing. Like the last few times we've seen it, it's just like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, like the
This one
Kenobi
was
one
actually,
to me too, like didn't blow me away. The last one that blew me away was the Bad Batch one, to be honest.
yeah, I agree with that. Wow, we've got a lot of Order 66. Jesus, man.
Soon
Well, we'll
everybody
see
will get a
something.
perspective.
Yeah, soon. Like we're gonna get one again in Ahsoka. We're gonna see it again in Ahsoka
Oh
in live
yeah,
action. Live action. What else? How else are we gonna see it? Um,
they're gonna do like Tales of the Jedi, and it's gonna be what's it called, Shock T, and how like they're gonna finally explain for like the fourth time how she died.
how she actually died. Um, and the acolyte will somehow do it, even though it's said 100 years before. It's gonna just do it.
Like freaking New Republic Order 66 edition.
Yeah. No, this one was actually really good. Um, we didn't see Anakin, which was fine. Tamora Morrison voiced the clones. It felt very like Revenge of the Sith. I didn't kind of get that vibe with Kenobi. This one like felt like it was actually in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we saw Grogu going up on the elevator, obviously, and Ahmed Best, Kelleran Beg, I think that's his name,
Kellen
right?
Beck.
Beck,
Beck.
yes. Um, awesome. I was like, I'm like, this is dope. I'm like, that's Ahmed Best. I'm like, that's really cool. Obviously very special. Really just a great redemption story, I would say.
Yeah.
He obviously was very excited to play the role of Jar Jar when the Phantom Menace was coming out. And obviously he dealt with a lot of death threats and um that sort of thing, and dealt with suicidal thoughts, almost committed suicidal thoughts, depression. And it was just really, really great to see. Shout out to John and Dave and everybody else who, gave him that opportunity. And I kind of will always remember him now as the one who saved Grogu instead of Jar
Yeah.
Jar. I mean, it's very unique and it's very cool. It's very interesting.
It's a good
Uh,
comeback for him, especially since he's playing like the same character that he played in like a YouTube series, Star Wars series.
yeah, I know. It's really awesome. It's awesome he came back to the franchise as was. I know he got a really good reception when he went to one of the celebrations in 18 or 19. I can't remember which one.
I think it was in
Um,
the 19 one.
the 19 one, yeah. I get a really good reception, and I'm glad he came back and he played well, it's a new role essentially, but yeah, it was really well done. Really good sequence. Like a really good shot sequence, I would say too, with the
Yeah, he
clones
did good
coming
with
after him.
choreography.
Yeah, with the clones coming after him too on the gunships and seeing all that. And then we had Naboo guards, which again, I'm not, is there a Padme connection there?
I actually have a
Possibly.
theory. I have a theory. So
Okay.
when Padme said, like, because like we all know she saw the temple on fire and everything. My theory is that she sent her guards in her own personal ship to go help and like save like some remaining Jedi that could have escaped.
Hmm.
Because I feel like that's like a very Padme thing to do. Because that was her ship, one of her ships, like one of her
Right.
Nebula starfighters. So I think she sent like her guards to go help people.
I wouldn't doubt it. I I would not actually doubt it. I think that would be obviously very appropriate for the character.
Padme's not a type of person to sit around and do nothing.
Right, absolutely, absolutely, I agree with that. That's actually a really good theory. And then obviously we see him fly away into hyperspace. Um, we don't know. where it goes. I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more.
I'm gonna be so sad when he dies because there's no way he lives. Like I don't see him living. I'm gonna be so sad, like when he eventually, because I Grogu needs to get to the spot that he does in the Mandalorian. By like the time of the Mandalorian where he forgets a lot, and so I think there's gonna be like a traumatic experience with Ahmed Best's character dying. That kind of
Yeah,
like makes him forget a lot of stuff, or makes him want to forget that stuff.
right. Because there's a lot of time just between. There's 30 years of time in between that. About 30 years almost.
Yeah.
When we meet Grogu and the Mandalorian and Order 66. So there's a lot of time there, and there's gonna be stuff that needs to be explained. I think as the show goes on and this universe continues to go on, um, we'll get that stuff explained. Is there anything else you want to talk about from these last two episodes, or what do we got? What do you think we're gonna see next week? What do you think's the big thing next week?
Next week, I hope we get more Grogu backstory. I think that'd be cool. And then I hope we get Gideon answers next week. I hope we get stuff by him.
Yeah, I think next week, we're going back to Navarro. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I just got a feeling we're gonna go back to Navarro because I feel like we still have those shots in the trailer where we see them jetpacking down onto Navarro and them fighting the pirates and stuff. So I feel like that's gonna happen next week. I think next week's runtime is rumored to be 40 something minutes, so I could see that being the Navarro episode. And then I
Mhm.
think at the end of the episode, a tease of Gideon.
Yeah.
Maybe either Gideon in his cell or Gideon just out already.
What do you mean, like a
Then
tease of Gideon? Like I think you mean a tease of Bo-Katan's helmet, and then you see in the reflection Gideon inside of it. We need to end every episode with a shot of Bo-Katan.
that is true. That is true. Um, so a tease of Gideon, I think, would be very appropriate. Um, and I think after next week, I kind of want to just be on Mandalore the rest of the season, or at least go into Mandalore the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So that's where I think we're going. I think I would give this week's episode an 8 and last week's a 7.5.
Yeah, probably same scoring for me.
Yeah,
Also, I just thought this. I have a question. So obviously, like we're seeing like how Bo-Katan is like getting a more prominent role and everything. How
right.
she's seen the mythos, or what does this mean for her in Mandalore? And we've seen like Din and Bo are getting close to, which I do think, as much as I don't want it, we're gonna get a relationship between the two. Like I said, as much as I don't want it, I think it's gonna happen. Do you think that this could be leading up to Din and Bo like both being the rulers of Mandalore?
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point there. If there is a courtship, if there is a marriage, then I could very much see it. Because also it's like a question of who rules if she tames the mythosaur and he has a dark saber. I
Mm-hmm.
really think it could be a co-ruled thing. I really
Yeah.
think there could be a relationship there. As much as I don't want it, and I don't think it doesn't really make sense for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's why it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, they
If
could just
that
be
makes
doing
sense.
it. Oh, you can keep going.
If that makes sense. I was just kind of like trying to say they both seem very lone wolf warrior esque.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's why they're perfect for each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that would be really interesting if they do like marry or do end up being together. Because she's definitely taken on like a mother type of role to Grogu, or like an aunt type of role.
Yeah, when she was
Uh,
like preparing him for the dark thing, she's like, "Don't worry, my father did this to me all the time," and she's like helping him like get ready and stuff.
right, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Very interested to see where they go um, with that. But if they do get married, I think it's very much possible that they both rule together, which I
Yeah,
think
and
would
I
be kind of cool.
yeah, and I think it should be like a thing to please like kind of fans like you and me. Like you want Din to rule, I want Bo to rule. Like we can make
Right.
both people happy with that
Right, yeah, I think I totally agree with that. Yeah, it would make both groups of people happy if they
if they do
co-ruled.
it well.
Yeah, if they do it well, and I think they could. I think it could be well executed. You got anything else about the Mandalorian?
No, that's all.
All right, that's good. That's good. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Bad Batch. The last couple of weeks and where we think we're gonna go. So the Bad Batch retired. The Bad Batch retired. So
Mm-hmm.
that means we wrapped up, baby. We wrapped. Uh, what did
Bro,
you think?
oh my god.
What did you think of the last two
What was
weeks?
it? Last week's episode, I fell asleep during the episode. I fell asleep, and I woke up and like I think it was like the first season was playing. I was like, oh man, I gotta go back and watch all that again. So I went back and watched all of it again, and I was so bored. Oh my god. I watched the Bad Batch do chores for a solid 30 minutes. Oh, I never thought I'd see the day where I'd watch like people do chores in Star Wars for a solid 30 minutes.
Yeah, very boring episode. I will say probably we're on a stretch from like episode 7 or 8 to like 12 at that point where we just had bangers, I think, like really, really
Yeah, really
good.
good
Some
ones.
of my favorite um stories and just continuations of stories. So it's like a good tonal shift, I guess I would say, like good like mediator point between that and the end of the season. Obviously not like that good of an episode. Like I really don't care about this island. I'm sorry.
I don't
Um
care about this one lady too, though. I think they're trying to get into like a relationship with Tech.
Fee.
Yeah,
Fee's her name, right? Yeah.
see, I don't even know, bro. I just know is that one lady who hosts a Bad Batch. One lady who hosts a Bad Batch. I have no interest in her character. She's so boring. Every scoundrel we've ever seen, so she's not interesting. I don't think she brings anything interesting to the group besides her being with Tech. But at the same time, I don't want her with Tech because like Tech doesn't need a love interest. Not saying like he doesn't deserve him, but like I kind of just don't see the point of him having a boring love interest like that.
Right.
And then like the people on this island, like big bald dude, it seems like he's just a friend for Wrecker. It seems like they're just trying to like get the Bad Batch like take like settle down and like oh this person gonna be friends, this person gonna be together, where they chose like the most boring people to do it.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I feel like they're just trying. I will say they've done a lot. They've taken good criticism. They've tried to give Tech a character arc. I like this. They've tried to give Tech the more emotional side. He's very analytical, very critical thinker. Kind of lacks emotion, or he will say things in the face of understanding how people feel because he knows it's logically right, but like maybe it's not the right thing to say to a person.
Mhm.
But I like how they're trying to involve him and make him more emotional as like the galaxy evolves, and he can be that. And he's not just a soldier. Hunter, I feel like he's arced out. I don't know what his character arc is at this point. It kind of he wants to retire. Does he want to continue to do this? Um, and I have no idea what Wrecker is at this point. He is just there. Like this dude is just there. He has had no like zero. I mean like zero character development. He's maybe like said the same 5 lines every episode. It's actually crazy. Uh he's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, okay. And then he goes, rawr. And then like it's like I'm like, what am I watching? Um, but that's it. That episode it happened. There was a tsunami. Whatever.
But was that soon?
Uh,
I thought it was like a. I thought. See, that's how much I don't remember. I thought it was like a freaking beast or something that caused like earthquakes or something. That's how much I don't remember that episode.
nah, it was like a tsunami, and yeah.
Mm.
Again, some some Star Wars structures are very weird.
Mhm.
Why, when you have an island like that? I understand they explain like it doesn't happen for thousands of years, but still, why would you build a lower part where you know a tsunami can take it out? I just do not understand why people do this stuff.
Yeah.
Just why? Why? Come on now. Come on now.
I did hear a theory though that this island, because have they named the planet this island's on?
No, are you gonna say it's become Scarif?
Yeah, people have like because it looks like they show like an outside shot of the planet. It looks like identical to Scarif. Like the islands look like they're in the same positions as like Scarif.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad, but that would be cool. That's
That
sad, but
would
that
be
would
cool.
be cool.
That'd be funny if a tsunami takes out like take out their village and it's the thing that takes out the Imperial base. That's ironic.
Yeah. All right. Episode number 14. This is why I think the show has a possibility to be great. Heavily focused on the clones and what's going on with their story. We've really reached the tipping point of what is going on with them. They're being arrested now and being tested on Tantus. Um, and we see Rex, and we see Rex has this whole uh network of people working within the Empire, has his own clones that have already left that are trying to get these clones. We see Hauser again. Um, a very, very good episode, and it's just what I said to myself, this is what the show should have been. It honestly should have focused on, I think, Rex. I honestly think the follow-up should have just focused on Rex and what was going on there, uh, and him building this network, recovering clones, recovering this information. You could still have the Bad Batch. You still could have had what was going on with them during this time, but just not have them as the titular characters of the show. Um, but I think it was a really, really well done episode. I didn't even touch on Crosshair, but what did you think of that aspect of Rex recovering other clones and that whole clone network and what's going on with the clones on Tantus?
I really like that. I'm happy that Echo's doing something after all this time of him being like silenced in season one, getting a little bit more stuff in season in the beginning of season two. He's finally, I feel like, where he's supposed to be. Like we know where I think everybody's kind of wanted him for a long time. And so I really like what they're doing with this character now. I was still happy to see Hauser back. Like I really liked Hauser in season one. He was one of my favorite episodes of that season. His episode, and yeah, I think like the whole thing of like a clone network is cool. It's just sad to know that it's like gonna be in like just it's inevitable. That's just gonna fail, and that's just gonna be real sad.
Yeah, right. Because we see Gregor, and then we see a couple other clones that we don't know. They're
Mm-hmm.
named, but we just don't know them, and we don't know where they go. But all these clones like are gonna die. So like it's
Well, I don't want to see Hauser die. I'm gonna be so mad.
um it's weird too. I thought they were gonna have Cody, but they didn't do that. I don't know what's up with
Yeah,
him.
where the heck did bro go? Like,
Where did bro go? I'm starting to think he might be dead.
I think
He might.
it's either he's dead or he's on Tantus. Like they caught him and he's on Tantus.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. Honestly, I could definitely see that as well. But it's really interesting. We got this exiled public scientist who is now heading the operation on Tantus, and he's experimenting on clones. Obviously, they're very interested in clone tech. Very. I'm just putting this together now, honestly. Um, Obviously a Palpatine connection. And they want Omega really, really bad. What do you think's going on Tantus? What do you think's up? There's obviously more to it than just having these clones as prisoners, as traitors to the Empire.
Yeah. So what's going on there? I'm honestly not sure. Maybe it, like I said, it's probably connection to sequel trilogy stuff to make that make sense. Which I'm fine with, to be honest. But I'm not sure. I just kind of hoping like my main goal for the end of this whole plot line. I hope the Doctor has like an established. I hope he isn't killed off. I hope he has like an established position for the future. Because I feel like it'd be kind of like a waste to introduce this guy and waste him. Like he's the perfect character to play now in like something like the Mandalorian season 3. Now that Pershing's gone, absolutely perfect to put it. Like he fit very nicely. So that's my main thing. It's like I kind of want to see where like the Doctor's character goes from this point on, and what he's cloning, what he's using for the clones for. The only problem I have is that they're doing the same exact thing they did in last season's finale. We need Omega back at this location, and it's a rescue mission. Before that, to rescue Omega. This time, not to rush Crosshair, but like same thing. They need Omega for something, which it's kind of sad that they're just returning to that plot point. But I mean, I guess it's whatever.
Yeah, I get that for sure, 100%. I agree with you about the Imperial scientist. There just seems to be, I think it's a really well done evil scientist almost. Like he's very calculated. Um, he's smart, and he'll like bend the needle a little bit. Like he is not afraid. He's very authoritative. Um, he will use science for bad mechanisms, right? He obviously being an imperial scientist, a willing imperial scientist, he's willing to do bad things, which is interesting because as somebody who myself am in science, I want to do good things with science. So it's always really fascinating to me when you see like somebody who's like an evil scientist. Why did they want to do this? And it's obviously a power thing, an authority thing, and that's why he's doing it. But I think what they're going with this is I think why they just have the clones is again they're trying to study the Kaminoan DNA, but they really can't get anything from the generic template, so they need Omega because Omega is the original
Yeah, she's like a one for
strand.
one copy.
She's the one for one copy, which also is like still weird they haven't mentioned Boba, but like who are they gonna send to get Boba at this
Yeah,
point?
they probably like, bro, we don't want to deal with all that. But at the same time, like they just recently found out that Omega's alive. It's like you might have like been made want to think you're like, you know what, guys, I know we're gonna have to devote all of our resources, but like this Omega kid's dead. Only hope is Boba Fett. Like we gotta track him down.
Right. Also, like, I mean, I know Boba Fett probably at this time is like 16, 17, probably
Uh,
on the way to being the best bounty
yeah.
hunter in the galaxy, probably close to it at this point.
No, I
Uh,
can't admit so alive, so he's still inferior.
uh, but at this point, wait. So I have a question then. So when does Boba become the best bounty hunter?
I think Cad Bane goes into retirement and does that just because I'm a big Cad Bane fanboy, and there's no way that like it's so stupid what they do with Cad Bane, bro. Oh my god, he should not be as much as I love him. He should not be alive right now because Boba's the best bounty hunter of his time. It's established in Empire Strikes Back. But then
Right.
you have
But then
Cad Bane, huh?
then to have him alive all the way until like the
Yeah,
book of
until
Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett, like Cad Bane, they say in Clone Wars, is the best bounty hunter of his time by far. Like not even by like, oh, this Bosk is like right there. The Cad Bane's like right there. It's like, nah, he's like the best bounty hunter by far.
Right.
This man was like scrapping with Jedi. He almost 2v1 Obi-Wan and Quinlan Voss in one.
Yep. Yeah.
And so
And he
like,
had fun doing it. Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like, and now it's just like, oh, he's still alive. So like, does Cad Bane go into retirement for a little bit? Does he like get like such like a big injury where it's like off the grid? It's just so it's stupid how he's alive. They should have killed him or like made some excuse to where he dies early on, not in Book of Boba Fett.
Right. I get that for sure. But like, yeah, if you're the Empire and you really needed Boba, you could just send like 4 like Imperial starships and like he couldn't do anything about
Yeah, that
it.
bro's
Like,
just like flying. He gets like hyperdrived all of a sudden.
right.
Not hyperdrive,
Um,
sorry, tractor beam.
right. Also, it's like a thing in the Empire Strikes Back where like you have Vader right there, and Palpatine could be like, "Hey, can you just like grab him? I need him for something like
Yeah,
down
tell
the
me that like
line."
his blood for like 5 seconds, bro. Like, like we'll pay him really not like he'll never need to do a job again with the money we're about to give him.
Right. Um, yeah, that's true. But Omega's just a. I mean, Omega's not even an easier target at this point. She has like 4 or 5 plus other clones protecting her.
Yeah, you've seen said clones like solo whole bases.
Right. Right, correct. Yeah. The optics of that actually doesn't seem really good. I would go after Boba.
Yeah, and it seems like to Omega right now, it's just a plot device. Like that's what she is as of right now. She's just a plot device.
Yeah, I feel like we've been lacking development with her also. It feels like we've done a little bit with her learning how to fly ships, becoming more capable, more comparable. Her camaraderie with the rest of the team, tech, especially. But yeah, right now I'm just interested to learn more about. There's something about her that has to even separate her from Boba and the rest of the clones because she is a girl. Like
Mm-hmm.
she is a one for one copy, but she is a girl. She's not like Django.
Yeah,
Um, it's also I really think they're gonna go the route that she knew Boba. Like they were
yeah. I
kind
guess
of
they could do
close.
it. I
I
mean, they were
really
both on Camino, like just kind of chilling around.
right. So I feel like they gotta go that route. And then we know the last 2 episodes are like Plan 99 and something else like that. I
Mm.
really think we're gonna get something with like obviously I think we're gonna get a lot of people going to Tantus. Rex, like
Yeah, I was about to say, I think
his
the clone army, or the clone army, is gonna raid Tantus.
yeah, I think what's left, I really think they're gonna raid Tantus, and
That'll be so.
I think they may gonna have some clones escape. And what's gonna happen then is at the end of the show, we'll see like the extermination of clones. Like they're just gonna kill clones. Like they won't put up with it anymore, and they'll just kill clones.
So I actually have a thing with it. So in Rebels, though, or Rex, Gregor, and Wolf are living, the Empire knows they're there and decides to leave them alone. So do you really think, like, after kind of think about that, you really think they like kill all the clones and then like, it's like, oh, these 3 are on this one planet. We know they're here. We'll just leave them alone.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, I think it really could be a thing that it could be a tactical thing that they don't want to mess with Rex. There's some type of agreement there that like if Rex, Gregor, and Wolf just live there,
Mhm.
and they don't mess around, that they won't mess around with them. It's a really
Yeah,
good point.
because I
Because
also
I'll go ahead
okay.
and finish.
Yeah, they could just also kind of just like they could just like they put a Star Destroyer right above where they're at. They rain fire and they're just done with it. So like unless there's an agreement there, like they don't really care about clones to this point. Maybe like they exterminate all the clones, that, like you said, and it gets to the point to where they're like so insignificant they just don't even bother anymore.
Right, because we do see the homeless clone in Kenobi, right? So like
Yeah,
that sort of thing. Yeah, I think actually your theory makes a lot more sense. Is that they don't really care about him anymore,
yeah. I
because
think
they're
once the
they're
Clone Rebellion gets put to rest, they'll kind of just be like, okay, they're just there now.
yeah, they're accelerated aging and stuff like that. But we got to get to a point because Rex's network at this point is fairly large. It's alluded to that it's fairly large. Um, so yeah, I think that we'll get that answered in the next two episodes. Crosshair. What do you think about his story this episode, and what do you think? Where do you think it goes for him?
I'm happy that he he's kind of like opened his eyes and woken up now fully, which is like really cool. I like how too like he didn't even try to escape because I feel like he kind of knew also he couldn't escape, and that the best thing he could do was warn his brothers, which was really good. That shows he still cares about them, and that like the finale of season one really meant something to him, like how they cared and they want to bring him with him. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I honestly think he's gonna die. I think he's done.
They're
Uh,
gonna kill the most interesting character.
yeah, I really think so. I really think at this point, like his story has come to a nice conclusion. Um, he he really went with what he believed. I think he believed in what the Empire was doing. Saw Grew compassionate to the regs, and as we saw, he was not a big fan of the regs and the Clone Wars and even the beginning of the Bad Batch. And then as it slowly went by him, like everything was, going away, his brothers, it finally hit a tipping point. He wasn't respected anymore. He was treated just as a number. There was really no peace and order. He was being replaced. All of these things led to the decision he made today. Um, so yeah, I really think that's the way we're gonna go. I really think that he is going to die in a sacrificial way. I really think he's going to be the one that helps them infiltrate Tantus. Once they get to him, he'll be the big reason that they get through. He'll help them, and then he'll sacrifice his life because he probably won't be able to live with the fact of what he did. There'll be some guilt with that, and I think he will die, but I think he'll be pretty big in saving the batch, and yeah, I think that's the way we go.
Yeah. And if he does that too, I really don't see I think this will definitely be a better topic of conversation for next week, of course, like the future of the Bad Batch, because I don't see an interesting future of the Bad Batch without Crosshair. But yeah, that's
I
also a question for next week as well.
No, I totally agree with that. I don't think that's a bad take at all. I think it's a really good take. Yeah, yeah. I think we are going to get a third season because there's a lot to wrap up. Sid's still out there. Uh, we don't know about other clones at this point. Um, we haven't even met Wolf yet. Like, I still
Yeah,
think there's some story. Probably one more season. I mean,
I, I can see it.
second season was a lot better in my opinion. So like significant upgrade. So
Yeah,
like
no, I think the season's overall better. I think season one has higher peaks, but I think season two as the season is better.
okay, I think that's totally fair. I think that's totally fair. I think we'll get a season three, and I think season three will probably be it.
Hmm.
And that would make sense. We'd be around 50 episodes at that point. Because we'll get to a point where we establish where Omega is because there's just too much to wrap up. In two episodes, you'd have to establish where they are. You'd have to kill them all.
Yeah.
You'd have to kill most of them.
You also have the
And
Cody stuff that isn't resolved. You teased him.
Cody, Sid, I think Omega's got to live. Probably they're not gonna kill like a
They're not
child.
killing a child. Yeah.
They're not killing a child. That would be crazy. Now that would be nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that sort of thing will happen. I think we'll get a season three because this whole thing with Sid out there because they're not just gonna leave like Sid because Sid was like an integral part of the most of season 1 and partly of season 2. So
And
I think
even with Sid
well,
too, in my opinion, like what's you gonna do? Snitch? Like the Bad Batch is already gonna reveal themselves when they go to Mount Tantish. You're like, guys, the Bad Batch is out there. Like, bro, they raided our base like last month. We know this.
I think season 3 might be a thing where it deals more with bounty hunters. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna lean into that more, like Boba, Cad, Bosk, that sort of thing, the criminal underworld, because I think that's where Omega's gonna end up.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that sort of thing, kind of like Hunter. Like Hunter, I see as like a Rambo, and I think Omega's gonna kind of adopt that almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where it's gonna go. But I'm really excited. I think next week we will get obviously the confrontation at Tantus with a bunch of clones, a clone rebellion, kind of Andor-esque type of thing.
Yeah. One way out.
But yes, but I think it's gonna lead to the death of most clones.
Yeah, I hope they either. I kind of do hope. Like I said, this is me like a little fanboying a little bit with my boy Thrawn. It will be kind of I think fun in my opinion. Like since Thrawn like analyzes this, that, and the third, it'd be kind of funny if like the clones kind of just smoke Tantus, like because they're using like unusual tactics. Like they're able to think for themselves. I think they're just able to just wipe the floor with Tantus. And in season 3, like it's a little bit of a fanboy in me, but like Thrawn is the one that takes him up because like his whole thing is like to defeat an enemy, you must know them. It's like he
Right.
kind of like gets in the mind of the clones, thinks about this, and it'd be kind of cool if he kind of like follow like Thrawn just for a little bit, like taking out these like different patches, like groups of the clones, till eventually where they're like, oh, bro, we need to go back into hiding, and that's why maybe Rex, Gregor, and Wolf are like off on that planet because Thrawn just forced all of them to hiding by how much he was like dominating them, or so it didn't even have to be Thrawn, just some smart Imperial.
No, I think that'd be really dope. I honestly think that would be really cool, and I would be down to see that. Honestly, I would be really down to see that. So yeah, I 100% agree. Do you got anything else you want to say or talk about?
Uh, no, I think that's all.
Alrighty, well, as always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Stormy, as well. It was a really good show. Hopefully we could do a show this Friday because we'll have the Bad Batch finale and we'll have Mandalorian season 2 or season 3 episode 5. Yes, great show today. As always, may the force be with you and may you stay burning with glorious purpose. See you all next time. Peace out.